Last year we had this game called Grow a Garden release. It could average millions of players every day, and at one point was even the record holder for highest peak player count. But with time, the game began to lose its popularity, at one point having only about 1% of the players compared to how many it had when it peaked. And although the game did sort of make a comeback and increased its player count again, a few days ago, something much bigger happened. Grow a Garden 2 released, the sequel that seemed to be making a huge comeback for Grow a Garden in general, being able to get over 700,000 players without the help of admin abuse. The game has been in the works for a few months. You may remember the small leaks we got back in around February and March. And back then, the whole idea of Grow a Garden sequel was hated quite a lot, just like Grow a Garden itself, due to how it was handled. It is still not fully liked, but since some things have changed, like the way Grow a Garden updates, people did calm down a little. And now, seeing how many people are back to playing Grow a Garden 2, could this actually be the huge comeback? The game itself is pretty similar to the original Grow a Garden. I'm sure all of you have at least tried it for a few minutes at this point. It begins with a short tutorial just like in the original game, and then your main goal is to just buy more seeds and grow better plants for more money. Just like in the original, plants can grow different sizes, and crops can be mutated, although visually it does look better in this game. There is gear and building just like in the original game as well. But the elephant in the room is stealing. Grow a Garden team has been advertising stealing quite a lot. The trailer has stealing as one of the main points, and even the game icon itself advertises stealing. Basically, you can steal at night if the owner of the garden isn't at their garden, and the shovels can be used as weapons to punch people. You can also either grow plants or buy pets to defend your garden. There is even a decent chunk of gear related to stealing in one or another way. Stealing is not entirely new to Grow a Garden, actually, because taking, for example, the raccoon pet in the original game of Grow a Garden, at one point, it could literally steal someone's crop. That change did get reverted later since people didn't really like it, but it seems they decided that stealing would be great to implement in the sequel instead. And speaking of controversial changes in Grow a Garden, the game had plenty of them. But probably the worst period of time was January, February, and even a part of March. This is when the game was hated the most by its own community due to some of the worst updates you could imagine. But then with Easter event, things began to get better again. And now that the sequel is out, Grow a Garden is feeling much better than at any point this year so far. And you may wonder why so many people choose to play the sequel in the first place. One of the main arguments is pretty simple. The game has a fresh new economy without all the duped quintillions or whatever amount of money that the original game has. Since the game is new, there is actual progression to go through for everyone, and that is sort of the most fun part of any game. You can't just buy the best thing in the shop instantly. There is an actual challenge, and I feel like this is something Grow a Garden players wanted to experience. When rare things are actually rare, and getting lucky will have an impact, this sort of thing is what I'm talking about. In the original game, no matter how big of a crop you grow, it won't really make any impact on you since everyone already has quintillions of money. But besides the game being fresh new, it does, in my opinion, offer some new cool things that can explain why people want to play it. You might have noticed that sometimes the game's icon updates to show something like this. And it happens at any point if there is a rare seed, or rare gear, or even an event like Thunderstorm or Rainbow is ongoing. I think it's a pretty cool addition, something I don't think I've seen any other game do before. And I mean, shop restocks is something people always wanted to watch after. There are YouTube streams for that, Discord bots and whatever. This is basically the same thing, but for everyone to see. You can actually see how the player count changes when something happens in the game. And I would imagine that any game would want to have players constantly join back. Talking about seeds, gear, and events, another thing about the game are the improved visuals. The UI looks better, events and visual effects look cooler, and some plant models look better. I also like how they made the seeds, added a bit more variety to them. And since I mentioned events, there is night, as you probably remember, but the night has variants, like golden and rainbow nights, which can even drop these golden and rainbow seeds. This allows you to grow golden and rainbow plants pretty easily. They do not guarantee golden or rainbow crops, but do have a pretty high chance for them to grow. Rainbow seeds did actually exist in Grow a Garden already. It's just that in the sequel, they are very easily obtainable for anyone, since private servers are free in this game, and you are not forced to fight with others. Basically, there are reasons for why the game has so many players, but how long will that actually last? Well, just like any game, there are some flaws and downsides in this game. While visually it did get an upgrade, some plants still look like they were made with no budget at all. Mango Tree, for example, actually looks worse than the original. Some events also look too bright for some reason, and not sure why, but Blood Moon event has flashing lights. But the biggest flaws happened during release. Some people simply couldn't join the game. And if you did play during release, you'd know that they had to fix balancing too. So now many seeds cost more than they did during first hour of release. At one point there even was a bug when you would get underpaid when you sold anything. And if it was cheap enough, you could literally get zero money for it. The reason why the game was buggy is allegedly because they did not properly playtest the game. From what I got to hear, they were looking for testers a day before release of the game. And that could explain quite a few things, but also opens a possibility for something worse. One of the main reasons people wanted a fresh new start was, as I mentioned before, the problem with economy in Grow a Garden. There were dupes which completely destroyed the economy in that game, and if the sequel wasn't properly tested before getting released, you probably see where this goes. Duping is basically impossible to prevent, but possible to delay it. And without proper testing, there is a chance duping might occur pretty quickly in the new game, which would not be a positive thing for it. But can Grow a Garden 2 make a real huge comeback and achieve what the first game managed to? I highly doubt. And it's not really something to do with the game itself. Grow a Garden managed to at some point become a record holder for highest peak players count, simply because Roblox had a lot of new people come from outside of Roblox. Steal a Brain Rot and 99 Nights in the Forest also got a big chunk of that hype, but that won't be happening again this summer, or at least it won't be nearly as big. We won't see Grow a Garden 2 achieve anything like the original game simply because there isn't the same amount of players on Roblox compared to last year's summer. But in general, Grow a Garden did achieve a pretty big comeback. I mean, the sequel sits at around first and second most popular game spots, which is very impressive, especially considering what state Grow a Garden was in just a few months ago, when its own community was hating how the game was worked on. We won't see the sequel set any new records, or being anywhere as big as the original game, but it sure does look like the game achieved a pretty decent comeback, something that many people seem to have been waiting for. Anyway, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. That helps the channel quite a lot. You can watch one of these videos while waiting for a new one. They are good too. You can join my Discord server or play our game with the links in description, and I will see you soon.